Hi, and welcome back to our continuing education series with New Century Planning Associates. I'm here with Louis and Bob. How are you guys doing today?
Good,
Great.
good.
So we have a topic that is sometimes difficult to talk about. Not a lot of people have it planned up, that healthcare piece in particular. We're going to talk about long-term care here, but it is a necessary topic by virtue of the percentage of the American public that will require that. So Bob, I'm going to begin with you. With the whole long-term care, let's talk about what is a long-term care need and chronic condition. How do we know if we're going to need long-term care?
Well, a chronic illness condition or long-term care event is something where the standard is if you can't perform 2 of 6 activities of daily living. So these are 6 things that you do every day. And if you need assistance, if you can't perform 2 of the 6 for either cognitive or physical reasons, you meet the requirement. And that's it can be a chronic condition, or it could be just an event, but it's a problem.
And Louis, we spoke about this offset of the percentage of Americans. So I'm just going to hand that over to you because that is an alarming number.
Yes, it is. You know, you could live a regular, ordinary, healthy life, but 69%, approximately 69% of all Americans at some point will have a chronic illness or need long-term care at some point.
That's 7 out of 10.
That's correct.
That's 7
yes.
out of 10. These are national stats. So, for those people, I'm never going to need it, Bob. I'm never going to need anything like that. I'm going to use my father as an example here. Completely healthy, and 5 years ago, he fell. He just accidentally fell, busted his hip. It put him into a long-term care situation. Thank God he's fine right now, but that was an anomaly, I'll call it, right? Yeah. Totally healthy person. So even for the most healthy, something can potentially happen, right, to put you in that sort of situation.
Yeah, the odds are terrible, 69, 70% for all of us. So we shouldn't deny that it's going to happen to us. A lot of people do that. Go out and shoot me. I'm not going to go into a nursing home. It doesn't have to be a nursing home, but it is something we really plan for. It's one of the 5 pillars that we try to address for people in retirement planning. It's an important one.
So let's
talk. Not fun.
Yeah, because there is a cost difference. There is at home, there is assisted living, there is full nursing home. Let's talk about those for a moment.
Well, all 3 are terribly expensive from Maine to Florida, but the trend is people want to be at home as long as they can be comfortable in their own environment. That's less expensive and rising. I should mention the inflation in the long-term care field has exceeded inflation in the full economy for 30 years and shows no signs of stopping. Assisted living is more expensive and nursing homes are terribly expensive. I mean, the numbers are crazy now. It's 12,000 a month in certain areas. So it's something to be planned for.
And Louis, let's take a moment and talk about the non-financial consequences of a long-term care event, because this could be devastating to families, correct?
Yes, the non-financial consequences may exceed the financial consequences. Why? Because the family unity can be severely affected. For example, you have children or siblings not talking to each other for possibly decades. And can you imagine a situation where there have been multiple marriages, okay, and stepchildren? So it's also very, very common in that situation where step siblings may not talk to each other for decades. Why didn't you take care of my father, but you took care of your mother, for example? We hear a lot of horror stories where the family unity is disrupted, broken perhaps, in situations where they ignore the possibility of a long-term care event.
This is a side note question here. Clearly, you're not family therapists, you're financial advisors, but sometimes that element pops up, right?
Yes.
And you may need to have a serious conversation with family about, here's what's coming. Does that happen from time to time, Bob?
Absolutely, and to the extent that we can address the financial situation, it'll help alleviate the non-financial risks, right? If there's a plan and there's money set aside or income streams that'll come into play, it alleviate the whole resentment building up and who's covering who. So you don't accidentally impoverish a healthy spouse. You don't accidentally disinherit loved ones with proper planning. Not fun, but important.
So you bring me to my last question here, and that's, how are we going to pay for it? Are we going to use traditional long-term care insurance, or are we going to use some sort of asset-based product for that?
Well, the long-term care insurance is a good solution. It does the trick. If there's negatives to it, it's a little tougher to get. It's expensive. You can pay it for 25 or 30 years and die peacefully in your sleep, and all the money stays with the insurance company. So we lean towards the newer way to do it, where the money stays in the family, is what we call asset-based. You take a slice of your pie, rainy day funds that you intended to leave anyway, maybe it's lazy money, and you allocate that to an asset-based plan, which, if the situation develops down the road, it pops up and creates a big pool of tax-free money that's available for this need, and you protect everything else you built. If you die peacefully in your sleep and get lucky and don't need it, the money stays in the family. So it's a more attractive solution, more cost-efficient solution.
Is this a terribly complicated solution to set up? Because I know in the senior market today, there's some smart people out there, and they're recognizing that long-term care insurance for most is going to be too expensive, too hard to get if they haven't done it earlier on. So there are a lot of alternatives, correct me if I'm wrong here, Bob, in the senior marketplace today where you can get that long-term care coverage from that pool of money, and if there's money left over, it could be passed on to your heirs too. Am I correct on this?
Exactly, on a tax-free basis. Yeah, we're not anti-long-term care insurance. It does the trick, but the caveat is that you can pay it for a long time. Typically, the premiums increase over time, and maybe the money leaves the family. Here, we make sure the money stays in the family.
One last item. Allow me to say that we are both certified in long-term care, and that's a very important designation, a very important credential, and not all advisors do have that. So it's a very, very strenuous, rigorous program that we went through, including exams. So be mindful that you want to meet with some qualified, experienced
CLTC.
advisors.
I got to tell you something. That's terribly important here. And what is that designation, Louis?
Certified in long-term care, CLTC.
CLTC. Another reason to give the great people at New Century Planning Associates a call to help you with that particular piece of the healthcare plan that everyone needs to put together. Louis, Bob, thanks so much.
Thank you.
If you want more information about this topic today, hey, give us a call in the office. We'd love to start a conversation with you. Get your questions answered and let the wonderful people at New Century Planning Associates help you retire well.